Well, music lovers, this is a special treat because we're going to go on a little bit of a journey today with a man born in Colorado, moving to San Francisco, moving to Berlin as a child to follow his father's military career, moving back to California, doing amazing things with recording acts and studios, going back to Berlin, working with, I'm not going to mention them now because they're in the interview, some amazing people, and then coming out to Australia and working with the best of the best. And we today have got Mr. Craig Calhoun.
On the bass, they call me CC.
Welcome to Rider TV, Craig.
It's great to be here, Vince.
Thank you very much for taking the time out and having a little bit of a chat with us.
It's not every day I get to do this sort of thing with cool people.
Well, you're here in Adelaide doing a gig, which we might mention a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But it's great to have you here in the Dream Theatre Studios. They've given us the studio today to give you a bit of an interview, and then we're having a bit of a rehearsal here.
Nice.
So,
Yes.
a man, a boy, a child born in San Francisco, then leaves for Berlin at the age of 11 because your father was in the military, stays there till he's 16, goes back to California, does some amazing things I'll get you to talk about, and then comes back to Berlin. How does all this chopping and changing from continent to continent impact on your musical career and the cultures and all that sort of stuff being born? Let's start with this.
Right.
What are your earliest reminders of music? What was the first thing you can remember about music and how it enticed you?
Oh, wow. Earliest memories were in Oklahoma. My mother's side of the family's Oklahoma.
Okay.
And my grandfather sitting on the porch playing blues.
Yeah.
That's the first memory. And later on would be in Germany.
Yeah.
My father, we'd gone there. My mother by that time had 7 children.
Oh my Lord. You're not Dutch?
She'd given up her music career to have a family. And my parents went out one night. She got up and sang with this band, and they found out where she lived.
Oh, so your mum was a singer?
My mother's side of the family's musical.
All musical?
All musical.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, this is making sense now.
Yeah. And they found out where she lived and then got her to come and sing with them on the weekends. So that was my introduction to live, because I used to get to go.
Yeah. How old were you?
I was 13, 14.
Ah, okay.
So...
And this was in Germany?
This was in Germany, in very small villages,
Germany and Holland, like we mentioned before, and Scandinavian countries, they seem enamored with blues, jazz and rock.
Yeah, well, they love music, but I didn't really discover blues till I came to Australia.
Oh, really?
I knew it, but it was here that I really began to appreciate it.
Wow.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, but you've dedicated your life kind of in the early stages to slap bass.
I started on guitar.
Okay.
It was Hendrix, I was outside playing basketball in front of the house, and my mother said, reading the paper saying, "Oh, Jimi Hendrix died today."
Oh,
and I'm like, "Oh, who's that?" Then I heard Band of Gypsies.
Oh, okay.
And from then on, that's where I went.
Yeah.
That's the song.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Germany shortly after that.
Yeah. And how were you feeling as an 11-year-old shifting, because you would have had mates and friends and stuff and family, and then moving to Berlin? How did you feel? Can you remember?
Well, I had started a band before we left.
Oh, God,
I was on
like
guitar.
finding a girlfriend and then leaving it.
Yeah, on guitar, and gave a bass to a guy with 2 strings on it and showed him how to play that. And we did our first gig at a baseball game in between the innings, you know.
Cool.
And it was only one song that we knew. So
That's enough.
And then we moved to Germany.
Yeah.
And it was from there that I would spend 5-6 hours a night just trying to learn how to play. I didn't know how to tune it, so I'd look at the album covers and turn the tuning pegs in the same direction as the picture.
No.
So if I'm going to play like Hendrix, I'd look at that album. If I'm going to play like Clapton,
oh my God.
And then eventually somebody showed me how to tune it. And things got better.
That means you had to relearn how to play all over again.
Well,
kind of.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, Craig, because you're an amazing musician. Your gigs are wonderful. So obviously, music, it's a higher plane for you.
It's a higher plane.
You've locked into something and you actually share that. So it's a wonderful thing.
It started with a dream when I was about 9. I dreamt that I was on stage at a big outdoor festival. And what it felt like on stage, that's what I wanted to do. When I woke up, that's what I wanted to experience.
Wow. You can still remember the dream?
Oh, totally.
It's just there.
And there's American Indian on both sides of my family.
Yep.
So dreams have been a really big thing. I've always had this ability, especially as a kid, where I would go to sleep and I'd close my eyes and I'd see a slide carousel and it'd be different things in it. And I was really into the Beatles.
Oh, yes.
And whatever it stopped on, that's what I would dream about.
Okay.
So all throughout my life, I've had subsequent dreams of being on different stages, and they've all come to pass except that very first one and one other. So I'd find myself later on in life in some amazing hall in Europe and going, oh, this is it.
Wow.
You know, and seeing the faces and you know, so I've always had that connection like that.
Well, we should tell the audience, the viewers, because you've played with Larry Graham.
Yeah.
From Sly and the Family Stone.
That was a dream.
The Supremes.
Yeah.
So you toured Europe with them. Mm-hmm. Let's just talk about Larry Graham first, because look, correct me if I'm wrong, because no Sly and the Family Stone. We don't have Earth, Wind and Fire. And then later on, we don't even have Prince, because I listen to Earth, Wind and Fire and I listen to Prince, and I'm going, man, Sly and the Family Stone was doing that a long time before. They influenced everybody, to be honest.
Yeah.
So what were you going through when you were going, I'm going to work with this dude?
Well, I hadn't seen slap bass until we left Germany, came back to the US.
Okay.
I was still playing guitar.
Yep.
And I saw somebody slap and I went, that's cool. And that's what I wanted to do then.
Yeah.
So a cousin gave me a bass, and once again, 5 hours a day, you know, working at it. And having heard Sly and the Family Stone records, you had no idea what that sound was because you'd never seen it.
Yes.
So I got right into bass and always wanted to meet him. I'd seen him in concert before.
Yeah.
And then I found out he was coming to Australia for the first time. And I wrote him a letter. Just saying, listen, I don't know if you do this, but this is who I am. If there's an opportunity to get up and play with you, I'd like to do that. So before his concerts, I go back to the US and I started interviewing the bass player of my very first band.
Yeah.
And I said, man, I'm so excited. Larry Graham's coming. And he said, my brother-in-law is his guitarist. And he rings him up and says, hey, man, when you get to Sydney, contact my mate Craig. So when he comes, you know,
wow.
And I'm there, and Larry does this thing where he goes, does anybody out there want some? And he invites, you know, if you want some, come up here and do it, right? And he had a separate bass rig, and there were people getting up and singing and, you know, playing bass, trying to play a million notes to impress him.
Yeah.
And I walk on, put the bass on, and I just sat in the groove first.
Yeah.
And you can see the video of it.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, standing off, and then when I start slapping, then he comes in and he's like,
come on, man.
You know, he's right into it. And at the end of it, I got a chance to hug him and just say, hey, man, this is all you.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for this gift.
Wow, I wish I was there. What a beautiful experience.
On the bass, they call me CC. On the bass, they call me CC.
There's a lot of strings to your bow.
Yeah.
Guitar playing, bass playing, singing. for people don't know that when you went back to California after you'd been in Berlin,
I was 16.
you were young, but it wasn't too long after that you'd formed a band and you were given a recording contract of sorts, which was a big one for the time.
Yeah.
And this introduced you to the life of the studio, and
Correct.
without having to go into the band, because obviously, like so many bands, you get the recording contract, blah blah blah. You do this album, that album doesn't work, but you entrenched yourself in the studio scene somehow, regardless of what had happened. So you started learning about the studio idiom. How different is working in a studio to preparing for and working live?
Completely different.
Okay.
Having grown up in Germany, I had access to hi-fi equipment, so I had a reel-to-reel, when I was 14 years old. So I knew a lot about that. But this recording contract, it was, we were given $9,000 advance. We were given a 5-bedroom house.
$9,000, that was in what year?
This was 1979.
That's a lot of money.
5-bedroom house, 16-track studio, and we were paid $300 each a week. To be in the studio. 79. To just record original music.
That's a dream. Did you dream that one?
No.
Bloody hell.
But,
wish I'd have dreamed.
But then we kind of went into the main studio, Wally Hyder's studio. Santana's in Studio A, we're in Studio B, and Journey's in Studio C.
Yep.
I wasn't old enough to go out because you had to be 21.
Thank God for
And so the other guys went out, and I just stayed in and just picked up everything that I possibly could. I soaked it up.
And so, what are some of the fundamentals about working in a studio that perhaps live musicians like me should be aware of? The difference.
It's all about sound.
Okay.
Because the Earth, Wind & Fire album, there was one album that came out, and I was just blown away. Just like, how do you do that? How do you make a recording that has orchestra, strings, finger snaps, and you can hear everything? And so that was my quest. How do you do that? And I found out that the guy that did it was George Massenburg. He came to Australia, and I got a chance to hang out with him.
And he's from?
He's from the U.S. He's produced all kind of things.
Yes, okay. And you were talking about separation of instruments and stuff.
Yes, how do you do that? And
how do you do that?
It turns out that he invented the parametric equalizer.
Okay.
So I got a chance to ask him how you did that, and he explained to me, because all they had was EQ and compression and stuff like that.
Colours on a palette.
That's it. And with that, I find that we do too much.
Yes.
It all comes back to just hearing.
Yes.
And carving out space for things to sit. So that was the secret.
Because I saw this photo on Facebook yesterday of 2 legs, and when it's just 2 legs, and they were like it looked like they had all this oil on them, but they didn't. They had a streak of white on streaks of white on each leg, and then I looked at them going, it's not shiny at all. It's just 2 streaks of white, but it made them look like they were wet. This is what you can do with sound, with the parametric EQs, if you've got good ears.
It's like the secret to walking on water.
Yes.
Knowing where the rocks are. No.
Yes. That's what he did.
Okay. No, okay.
Bloody hell. But you see, why I wanted to bring all this stuff up is... This is the tapestry that you are. You've got this rich culture of family, cultural music in the US, which has influenced the globe. Then you go to Germany, where they love the American music, digest it their way, regurgitate it. You take it back there, take it into a studio, bring it out, start playing bass. Then you come out to Australia and you become Mr. Funky.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, that's always been the underlying thing. But I'm a rock head. Growing up in Germany, progressive rock, man. I was at 15, I was in nightclubs, DJ.
Playing rock?
Playing, anything from Yes to Zeppelin to, so...
Zeppelin, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Not bad.
They had a pre-named Lead or something like that. I think they dropped it.
That's it.
But that's where I came from. So my current thing is the fusion of the funk and rock?
Well, you can feel that power of rock music when you're playing a soulful, bluesy or funky thing.
Yeah.
There's an energy, that power, which is why, you see, I don't actually listen to rock music at home. I'd much prefer to do Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder and stuff. But when I'm on stage, I just want to rock out because I love the energy.
Yeah, totally.
And the energy is something we don't talk about enough because when you've got a congregation or an audience, I can see that because when you're playing, man,
yes, rock.
You thump that crowd, you take over their senses, but in a good way. Me and the crowd, I'm just loving it. I'm soaking it all up.
Yeah.
On the bass, they call me CC. On the bass, they call me CC.
And so, for those of you who don't know, we're filming here in Adelaide. What brought you to can you remember the first time you came to Adelaide?
Yes. I toured here first, the whole country, and then a year later I moved here, and I ended up connecting with Kevin Burridge.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, we're going to Adelaide, we're driving. And I remember driving from Sydney, and we got to Wollongong, and I kept saying, when are we going to get to the freeway?
Yeah.
But we eventually got here, and the Grand Prix was on.
Oh, okay.
And so my
Was this the very first Grand Prix?
No, I don't know. But
what year can you remember the year?
It would have been 86.
So it would have been the second
86.
Grand Prix.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And so my first impression of Adelaide was this amazing city with all this stuff going on, you know.
George Harrison is here.
And I just had the best time. And then that stuck with me, and I always wanted to come back. So about 4 years later, I just booked a flight to come back. Oh. And there was nothing on. And I was like,
what happened?
Where are all the people?
Yeah.
But then I found out that Adelaide is this place that there's always a lot going on, but it's under the surface.
Yes.
You got to know. Yeah.
It is a funny place because all of a sudden, like you've seen yourself that month of March when there's WOMAD and the Fringe and festival going on, it just blossoms and it's all happening and then it just goes.
But I thought that was all the time.
Yeah, would be nice.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe not, because then it's special when it does happen.
Yeah.
And I know we're a bit of a granny state, but we kind of love that kind of laid back, there's nothing here to do. We love it because we've got such a beautiful state. And then it explodes, and then we sort of get in and party.
I do like the quiet, you know?
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. And I noticed a lot of people go out in groups together and hang, you know? And that's a really nice thing.
So, what made you come out to Australia?
As I said, Don Burrows saw us performing.
Another lightweight.
And invited us, so we headlined Sydney Festival, Perth Festival, Melbourne Festival.
So you were playing for Don?
No, he joined us. It was a world music group. And so it was African percussion, Indian percussion.
This was all ad-lib? Was it all improvised stuff, most of
Almost.
This? Okay.
Yeah, but the pieces were like 18 minutes long.
I've seen some of them there, because I remember you saying it was improvised. I'm like, how did they do that?
Yeah, it was... You had a structure. There were melodies that the flautist and the guitarist did, but the rest of it was, what you brought to it.
So, so your experience was...
So, coming to this country and seeing over a month how much live music there was, I could not believe it. And having been in the U.S. and Europe, but every pub had live bands, and I just thought, wow, what an incredible place. And that's what made me want to move here.
Yeah. So... and you can see yourself staying here now. So you're an Aussie now.
Yeah, I've been here for a while now.
Good on you, mate. Look, and this is a wonderful thing because this is the sharing of musical cultures firsthand. Yeah. Because in Australia we have a certain way of playing as well.
The music here.
Yeah, and once again, I think it's that energy, and maybe what we lack in finesse, we make up in other areas. So there's that constant trying to get better, but you don't want to lose that essence, do you?
And also, for me, Australia was like the last frontier of the Western world.
Okay.
It was as modern as everywhere else, but it was still innocent.
Because you've worked with people like Jimmy Barnes, John Farnham, Renee Gayer, lightweights.
Marsha.
Marsha, you've worked with you've worked with our royalty. They are the best of the best. So, wow, what an amazing achievement! What an incredible life you've had. Someone just born in San Francisco, thrown around here and there, and this you've made music, everything.
Yeah.
And you're still going.
But the only thing that I haven't been able to do is I've always had my own bands prior to coming to Australia.
Yes.
But it doesn't really allow you to do that anymore. It did back in the 80s.
It did, yes.
Whereas now, so I have my band, the Brothers of Oz, which has been going 30 years now. It's been 187 musicians that have played with me, some for years, some for months, and because I didn't want to stop playing, I just pick a bunch of songs that you may or may not know. You're good enough. And so every show, I program it live as to what the next song is going to be.
You call it the Brothers or the Funk Sighting?
The Brothers of Oz, and it's a funk sighting.
Yeah.
So that way, every show is unique for me.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
And also, you've in the last 20 or so years, you've started doing master classes.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, aimed at younger kids, children, and bringing professionalism of a live show to children to show them what it's like to not just do it haphazardly, but as a pro.
Well, two sides of it.
Okay.
The master classes are for artists on critical listening and stagecraft.
Critical listening. And this is for studio?
Well, just how to hear what you're hearing and understanding what you're hearing.
Oh, okay.
And but the thing about immersing kids into live music, I would put on shows, and it would be, the tagline is for kids, but they're allowed to bring their parents. But it would be what I would do at any show at the basement. It would be the Brothers of Oz, and we're playing because a lot of those parents who were fans didn't get a chance to come out while they had kids.
Yes.
So it put on the same thing that they used to go and see, but their kids come and get immersed in great funk music.
That is so important. When I hear of children coming to shows, to me, that is probably the most important thing. And the reason I say this is you. I say you're not hungry until you smell the barbecue.
Okay.
I'm not hungry. You smell the barbecue and you love it.
And you're hungry.
Children these days, live bands, no. But when they hear it and see it, they go, oh my God, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Because it takes over. This is why it's important what you're doing.
It's so important.
Craig, we could spend hours and hours. Unfortunately, we're limited to time. You're over here, so we have to wrap it up, but you're over here playing in the Funk and Rock and Blues Band, which would have come and gone by the time this goes to, but it's an annual thing.
Yeah.
I get to work with him.
I get to work with him.
Stephen Holt and Mark Meyer. Can you imagine? It's just, what a wonderful bunch of guys to work with, and we're rehearsing here today. But anyway, enough of that. I could talk to you for hours and hours, and we will, over a glass of wine and stuff. Thank you so much for making your time available for Rider TV.
I really appreciate this.
All the very best with your musical career. May it last as long as it can, because I want to be part of it as well.
Okay.
And you're welcome here in Adelaide anytime, mate, and we love you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Yeah. Mate.